Hey guys, welcome to the Wednesday stream. Today's been an interesting day. It's currently snowing, and it's a blizzard probably outside right now. But luckily, we're not outside today because it's not a normal stream. We're playing a game that I've been wanting to play, but I haven't been really sure if I wanted to stream it or not. But Persona 3, I have never played. I know some about it, of course. So I'm gonna be streaming it, kind of just showing as a casually. But we're actually gonna be streaming it today. We're actually gonna be starting to play through Reload because I've never played Persona 3 myself. I've played parts of Persona 4. I know the plot of Persona 4 and some of 3, but not much about 3. And I played Persona 5. Persona 5 was my main Persona game. I played Persona Q2. Q1. Like, I know enough about the games, but I don't know. I never played Persona 3, so I don't get everything. So I finally got the chance and got Reload. I got portable on my Switch. I just never played it fully yet either. But yeah, we're gonna start playing through this and we go from there. As I said, it's gonna be a stream. I might disable my webcam to stream just out of I'm kind of just taking it easy, but I'm here, guys. So let's go. Wait, wrong scene. This is the right scene. Yeah. Hi guys. Hi. Welcome to the stream. I hope you guys are having a good week so far. Sorry. Let me check. I am having an interesting week. So, for those that are unaware, I've been working on stuff in the background, right? That's normal. But I've been weirdly into dreams, which I was gonna stream dreams today, but I'll be honest, I think it'd be more, I don't think it would be that enjoyable. These dream shaping, that's like a bit of a weird thing with me. Dream shaping isn't my kind of stream. Just because it's not really something I would see being productive. For you guys, if you guys want dream streams, I would recommend definitely go to Cash's stream. He works on CNR 3 directly there. Great guy. If only he was here. No. Let's see. I'm trying to take another color real quick. But no, I've been on dreams more, and Pepperoni 3, welcome in, SMB fan, welcome in. I'm looking for my, I'm out. Looking for my USB-C cable that I used for my cat. I'm not using it anymore. I'm using my controller. But yeah, welcome on in, SMB fan, welcome in. Everyone that's lurking, I have, as I said, I never formally played Persona 3 in capacity. So, I only know parts of it. Crap! I need you to not turn yourself on PlayStation. But yeah, as I said, we're starting this playthrough today. I'm just gonna play a keyboard. I don't know why my controller's acting up. This is my secondary controller, so it's being weird. It's being weird. So yeah. For those curious, I know some people in here are into that. Backseating, I'm okay with. Just please no spoilers. I probably just won't look at chat in that respect if that happens. But you know, be civil. I don't know how many of you guys actually played Persona 3 all the way through. I pretty much know the major plot beats. I just don't want to spoil it either. So for the things that I haven't seen, you know. I just know there's characters and I know there's anything. just random music I had. What? Hold on. So, I've been muted again. Oh crap, I'm back. I don't know how long I've been muted, but I'm here. As I said, the webcam's gonna be off for a bit. Just not really prepared just yet with the webcam. So it's gonna be a very more chill, laid back, first time playing Persona game. For those in here, I don't know if I said it or if you guys are just coming in. Backseating I'm okay with. Just please refrain of spoilers. If you're in here and you spoil, shame on you, but twice. I'm probably gonna ignore your message. I know it's out of all the modern Persona games, I know the least about this one. In general, Persona 3, the Reload, all of that. So I'm going in mostly blind. I just know from like other means, you know, the plot stuff. I know Persona 4 and 5 more because I played both of those in some capacity, I'll be honest. And I played Persona Q, so I know the gist. Obviously, people like Fuka in here is from Persona 3. They're real. They're the real Fuka. I know who Fuka is. I know who. I know the protagonist is. I call him Makoto, but that's just my preference, guys. I know there's weird people out there that have some protagonist canon name weird choices out there that some people don't call Ren. They call him that Akira guy from the manga. Like, what? What's wrong with you? I respect you if you do that, but technically you're wrong. You can't tell me otherwise. We're gonna do normal. I'm gonna be honest. We're gonna try normal. Because I played Persona 5. I hope that's enough. Crap. Hold on, chat. Hold on. I'm trying to get this to be more Persona. Because the one thing I know about Persona games is they like using your mouse click against you. By right-clicking the screen, you pretty much, yeah. Time waits for no one. Oh, by the way, if the audio's alright, let me know, please. Thanks. I wasn't able to really check. Anime, folks, anime. It's the guy! It's the bad guys! I'm out. How old I am doing this stuff.
Just put it to my head.
Oh no! Oh no! 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 Not again! Not again! Oh no! Don't do it! Don't do it!
There's no way, I can't.
Twitch, it's a game. Don't ban me for this shit. It's not my fault they made this really dark.
Attention, please. Today's train schedule will be modified due to a rail switching malfunction. We apologize for any inconvenience. The next stop is Iwatodai. Iwatoda. This is the final train bound for Tatsumi Port Island. Please board before the scheduled departure time.
Whoa. Blood. All that blood. It's like, okay. It's like, just so chill about it. Alright, we're in the menu, guys. Arrived so late. I better hurry up before something bad happens. I can't pronounce it because that's Iwatodai dorm? I don't know. That's where I'll be staying from now on. It should just be up ahead. Guys, we're in the station. Looks like the entire station's undergoing construction. Seems the place I don't trust bank. The light in the phone booth is off. Guess the power's out. I guess the power's out, guys. Shit, it's coffins. Is it a coffin? Is it a coffin? I wonder what's in those things. Not gonna lie, guys, I don't know why there are coffins here. It's one of these things. They're just... Not gonna lie, I know it's not this, but like I like to think they just randomly place these coffins. But I know there's context. I just know that there's the fact there's coffins. It just like that it got me. Sorry. So chill about it. He's so chill about these coffins just hanging out. Like, let them hang out. Let them chill. And corpses or some shit. No. Persona 3, reload. Whoosh.
Welcome.
Oh, I got happy. Okay.
You're late. I've been waiting a long time.
The keyframe didn't care until I moved in. Holy sheesh. What? He just disappeared!
If you wish to proceed,
Stop!
sign your name here. It's a contract.
You're very mysterious, I'll give you that much.
There's no need to be scared. All it says is that you accept full responsibility for your actions.
What are we naming this guy? Zach? No, this is... I played Persona 5 off stream before. I played Persona 5 and I played Persona 4 mostly fully. Like I played those two games in their main entirety. I actually started playing Persona 5 with the Sonic mod for April Fools. I never finished it again, but I did play Persona 5 Royal. It's my first Persona game. I never played Persona 3 at all, though. Which the deal with Persona 3 is, I played Persona Q and Q2 in, like, portions in the past, so I know who the characters are. Me and like, Fuka, the real Fuka in here. I know who the characters are. I just don't know I don't know the story or the plot beats. So I'm going in here understanding the context more than just knowing about it, you know? I know there's a lot of good things about here, so. Look around. Rainbow Cap Pa. That's my name, guys. Rainbow Cap Pa. Yeah. Let's redo that. Let's redo this one. We're calling ourselves John Persona. I think that's a better name for this. John Persona. Did I spell that right? Let me make sure. Yeah, we're gonna be called John Persona. John Persona, yeah. We're calling ourselves John Persona.
Good.
Yeah, let's think about that. Is that really your name? Is that really what you're going with? Yeah, welcome in, Zach.
Time is something no one can escape. It delivers us all to the same end.
Death.
You can't plug your ears or cover your eyes.
But yeah, welcome in. I hope you're having a good Wednesday week. I don't know if you got my DM, but I did reach out to you a couple days ago about that thing we're talking about. So, you don't have to respond to that. Just let me know when you get the chance on Discord. But yeah, we're playing a bit of Persona 3. We're gonna start it. Maybe we'll do this our second single player game. If not, we'll do it. You know, we're vibing. We're vibing today.
And so, it begins.
So it begins, folks. All good. Here's.
Who's there?
Holy crap!
How are you here at this hour?
And you little thus. I would have a Vine Move sound effect if I had one right now, folks, but that's not my budget.
Don't tell me.
Don't pull the gun! Don't pull the freaking gun! What's with guns in this game?
Huh? The lights.
Turned on. Magic.
I didn't think you'd arrive so late. My name is Mitsuru Kirijo. I'm one of the students.
1 second, folks. I don't know if the audio is good for you guys or not. But no, it's better. Okay. It was just echoing.
Who's he?
Who's you?
He's a transfer student. It was a last-minute decision to assign him here. He'll eventually be moved to a room in the boys' dorm.
Is it okay for him to be here?
I guess we'll see. This is Yukari Takeba. She'll be a second year this spring, just like you.
Call me Takeba.
I think is this the girl star? Nice. I'm gonna be nice. It's just gonna be nice to meet you. I'm not going to go there, folks.
Yeah.
You really
Nice
thought
to meet you
about
too.
the gun. Wow.
It's getting late. You'll find your room at the end of the hall on the second floor. Your things should already be there. Why don't you get some rest?
Oh, I'll show you the way. Follow me. Here's your room. Pretty easy to remember, huh? Since it's all the way at the end here.
Do you have any questions?
Does that kid live here too? Or what's that contract for? What's that contract for?
Huh? Contract?
How boy, we don't know, boy, they're messing with us.
What are you talking about?
What are you? Yukari does not seem to know what I'm talking about.
Can I ask you something? On your way here from the station, was everything okay?
Yeah.
Huh.
Definitely not gonna comment on the coffin.
Don't worry about it then.
Definitely not gonna comment.
I'd better get going. I'm sure you still have questions, but let's save them for later, okay? Good night.
Alright. I guessed it. Life in the dorms starts today. The room came pre-furbished and everything. Jeez, it looks fancy as hell. You can save your progress by pressing the H key. However, saving is possible whenever this H key is displayed. When you save your game, it also saves a little bit of your past. You can go back by opening and doing that. Okay. Alright, so there's a difference. Okay. I'll take that one. Good. See what we're looking at. Should have been more with my concept first, okay. School starts tomorrow, guys. We're going back to school. Woo!
It's Takeba. Are you awake? Good morning. Did you sleep okay?
I mean,
I've been asked to show you the way. Are you ready to go?
I'm ready.
Great. Let's set out.
Anime too?
This is how we'll be getting to school every day. It's a monorail. Pretty cool, huh?
I just feel like just hyper realistic.
I
Zeldaman
honestly love the ride.
Welcome in, Zeldaman. Welcome
It
in.
feels like we're flying over the ocean.
Thanks for the follow.
Oh, by the way, our school's at the last stop on this line. It's called Tatsumi Port Island.
Guys,
Have you heard of it?
there's a hyper
The
realistic
whole thing's man-made,
images.
and our school's smack dab in the middle.
Okay. Welcome in, Zeldaman.
Oh, look! There it is now.
Woo! That's a long night.
This is why you don't drink hot out on Central 3. It's meant to be cold.
Morning! Well, here we are. Allow me to welcome you to Gekukan High School. I hope you like it. You'll be okay on your own from here, right?
Welcome in, Betty.
Let's see.
Alexia.
The faculty office is over there on the left. They'll tell you more when you get there. Oh, that about does it. Any questions before?
Alright, not gonna go there, folks. We're not going there.
Hey, about last night. Don't tell anyone what you saw, okay? See you.
Okay, well, we're open and normal now. Wait, take a Jackie was born in staff. It looks very nice.
Oh,
Oh, are you the new student? Huh.
John Persona.
You're a second year, correct? Wow, you've lived in a lot of different places. Let's see, 10 years ago, your parent... I'm sorry, I've been so busy, I didn't have time to read this beforehand.
Oh boy.
I'm Ms. Toriumi. I teach composition. Welcome to our school. Have you seen the classroom assignments? You're in 2F. That's my class.
So believable. Like
But
I like.
first,
I like
we
the
need to go to the
style.
auditorium. The welcoming ceremony will be starting soon. Come on.
And so, another new school year is upon us. I'd like each of you to remember the proverb. If a job's worth doing, it's worth doing well. When applied to student life, this means...
Hey, you came to school with Takeba-san this morning, right?
Oh boy.
I saw you two walking together. You must be pretty close, huh? What's the deal between you and her? Oh, and, does she have a boyfriend? Nobody seems to know. Oh, really? I thought you might know, but guess not. Wait, how
Who's that? Yeah, sounds like it's coming from Miss Tori.
Hey, shh.
Sup, dude? How's it going? What? Don't look at me like that. Me? Call me Junpei. Junpei Iori.
Woo, Junpei!
I
Woo!
transferred here when I was a second year in middle school. Pretty tough being the new kid at first, you know? So, I just wanted to say, hey, see what a nice guy I am? Hey, it's Yucatan! Didn't think we'd be in the same class again.
there you go again, acting like everybody's best friend. Try not to.
Sorry about that.
What?
No, man,
I was
saw
just being
your
friendly.
Just accept that.
If you say so. Anyway, who'd have thought we'd be in the same homeroom? Funny, huh?
Hello? Are you forgetting I'm in this class too? Anyway, I gotta ask. I heard you guys walk to school together. What's up with that? Come on, give me the dirt.
Huh? What are you talking about? We just happen to live in the same dorm. Why do people always jump to conclusions? Have rumors been spreading about this already? Now I'm worried. Hey, you didn't tell anyone about you know what, did you? Okay, good. Seriously, don't... What?
last night?
Oh boy, that. Oh boy. Oh boy, that sounds very wrong.
Wait a minute, don't get the wrong idea.
Yeah, he's getting the wrong idea. I can already tell. I can tell.
Listen, I just met him yesterday, and there is absolutely nothing between us. Jeez. I have to go now. There's something I need to take care of for the archery team.
Archery?
You better not start any more room.
Who cares? No one takes rumors seriously anyway. She's so paranoid. But hey, it's your first day here, and people are already talking about you. Believe it or not, she's actually pretty popular. You're the man. Well, here's to a fun school year, dude. You ready to head out? We can walk to the station together. Yo! Yeah. Get a load of... Yo. That's right. Oh, check out the jocks on their run. Say, you thinking about joining the club?
Hello, just missing
Oh,
out of
wait.
me.
New members gotta wait a while before they can apply.
Yeah, you're right.
Your stop said you would Todai, right? Orms, man. Must be nice. Talk. Well, I'm going this way, so see you tomorrow.
It doesn't seem like we've been far apart, so your lies. My lips are turned out. It doesn't seem like it's the last day of my life. When stars smile, when the hell is in your eyes. Just
Guys, I'm gonna have to. Nothing bad happened, but I didn't realize I have something in the look at, so I might be saving, and you can go from there. But we'll be probably playing this again soon next week. I think this is a good game to be streaming. It's a shorter stream than I wanted. I'll be honest, but yeah, no, I appreciate everyone coming by. It's a good, simple Wednesday stream. I'll be streaming this more. Well, I plan it to be back Wednesday. There's a chance I might not be back Wednesday because I have a dentist appointment, and I don't think I'm gonna be a little sore. But we're taking that by a year. We're gonna be doing something still, but we'll figure it out. As I said, thanks for stopping by. Everyone's at lurking. Everyone's here. I am quickly looking for someone to raid, so we'll go from there. You know, yeah, let's raid Elka. Elka's working on dreams right now, and I think that he's a good guy to simply go in. So if you guys are interested in someone who's developing for dreams, a great guy, great. He's making an Avatar fan game. He's one of the people that if you want to know what dreams is, he's a great guy to give you the kind of gist, pretty much. So yeah, go say hi to him, and the plan is Friday, though I don't know what, and I don't know. We'll be back soon. Until then, Kappa's out. Bye.